So this is referring to the Princeton study where they just came out with 4 different subtypes in autism. And this was very recent, July 2025. And I shared a carousel about it. If you're interested, go and review that. Or you could just Google it and look up the article. Now, your question is very poignant because this was actually one of the limitations of the study. There were actually 4 limitations identified, and this was one of them. That this is great, we want more research for sure, but how does this actually help with real world diagnoses or support? Like for me, as a therapist, if I'm working with an individual and they've been given this diagnosis or one of these subtypes, I do think it could help me figure out, are there any mental health aspects that I need to consider? And it could help from that perspective. But, again, it could also create a bias. That's not true. So I'm not clear on that. The other 3 limitations of the study were, one, that this data was collected from children. So I think it was like 5,000. So it does not really talk about adults. And I'm not clear if speakers and non-speakers were included in this. So that's another thing that I would be curious to find out. The second thing, limitation, is that the sample was mainly male. So it's excluding children who are girls, obviously autistic girls, and any sort of gender diverse folks, right? So that's obviously a huge limitation. And then the third limitation is some of the data collected here was based on brain scans at rest. So obviously that's not going to be the same as when they are, active and participating in real life, right? So those were the 4 limitations. And again, to answer your question, the article did not really clarify how this is useful for doctors and testing. Maybe it's going to help with genetic testing in the future. I don't know. But I'm just glad that it's not just these 3 level 1, 2, and 3 categories, that they are trying to parse it open a little bit more because it's so varied, right? And that's one of the good and bad things about autism. It's a spectrum, so you can have very affected or not very affected individuals, and that makes it really hard for us as providers to provide the right support. So I'm glad they're trying, but I still think they have to work a little harder in figuring out how this is applicable to everyday life and solving problems.